Good evening, everybody, and thank you for joining us tonight for a presentation based on the book Embers of Hope, Embracing Life in an Age of Ecological Destruction and Climate Chaos. My name is Anissa Luckman, and I'll be your moderator for tonight. This is the last webinar of a 5-part spring webinar series taking place on Tuesday evenings at 7 p.m. in April and May. These webinars are hosted by the Durham Environmental Advisory Committee, otherwise known as DEAC, which is a council-appointed citizen committee of volunteers who are dedicated to promoting community outreach and stewardship through various activities and projects that support environmental awareness and appreciation in the region. Now, before we turn to our program for tonight, just a quick housekeeping note. Please use the chat Q&A function for any questions you have for our presenter, and we'll make sure that those get answered. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce our speaker for the evening. Bonita Ford teaches permaculture, including ecological design, nonviolent communication, including cooperative communication, Reiki, which is energy work, and gardening. She has led workshops around the world for over 18 years, and she facilitates community design projects and does spiritual coaching with individuals. Bonita loves talking to the plants, eating wild foods, and dancing barefoot on the earth. Take it away, Bonita.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much to Anissa and Sylvia and the DEAC committee for having me. So I want to start by introducing you to where I am. This is my garden in a place that we call Perth, Ontario. And this is unceded Anishinaabe Algonquin territory. And I start from this place because my work in this last decade has been very much rooted in the land and rooted in community. And I am sorry, I'm actually having a technical issue. I'm having an echo. Sylvia, I'm taking my earbuds out. Sorry about the technical glitch. All right. So my work has been very much rooted in the land and in community, and my focus has been on cultivating well-being, health, harmony in the ecological and human communities that I'm a part of. And I firmly believe that the systems that are destroying the earth are the same systems that are oppressing and destroying and degrading human communities. And so I really start from this place of acknowledging where I am and the people who have tended this land and this area, because for me, it's about relationship and it's about responsibility. So I also want to remind you that I'm not a climate scientist. My work comes from, so what I'll be sharing with you this evening comes from my work as a permaculture teacher, a teacher in nonviolent communication, Reiki, working with groups, working one-on-one with clients. And I hope that I share with you tonight will be heartfelt, will touch you personally in some way, and will also be practical for you in your life. So as we slowly dive in, I just want to invite us to take a moment to just take 4 full and gentle breaths right now. So just in this moment, as we're arriving, letting go of the rest of the day, just inviting ourselves to breathe and inviting the breath to be a little softer, a little fuller. And so tonight we're going to be talking about some big issues that touch us personally, that touch all of us collectively. And so I want to start from a place of grounding and gratitude. And just in this moment, I invite you to connect with something that you are grateful for today. What is something that you're grateful for today? And so please write. So in the Q&A box, I'm going to invite you to use that right now to answer this question. So what is something that you're grateful for today? Just in a few words. You can type that into the Q&A box. And so as we're arriving, as getting into our bodies, we're starting from this place of gratitude, of grounding, because for me, the topics of climate change, the topics of ecological destruction, and the crises that we're facing in our world right now are really, these topics touch us on so many levels. These topics are, we can read about them in the news, and it's something else entirely to allow ourselves to make these a real part of our lives. And so, starting from a place of gratitude, this is one what I call an inner capacity. It's a tool. It's part of us resourcing ourselves as we do the difficult and challenging work of looking at what is broken in our society, what is not working, what is hard and painful to face in our world. So thank you for taking a moment to reflect on your gratitude. And so Embers of Hope. This is my new book, Embers of Hope, Embracing Life in an Age of Ecological Destruction and Climate Chaos. And the book is about facing death, the climate crisis, ecological destruction, and asking ourselves, how do we really want to live our lives? How can we live our lives differently? How can we create more meaning in our lives? What's better care of the communities around us? And so these are some of the themes that are woven throughout the book, and some of the messages that I really want to bring to you and share with you this evening, just this piece around taking care of life, taking care of the human and non-human communities around us as a way of creating meaning, as a way of creating more happiness in our own lives. And I think, especially in this day and age, it's so important for us to learn to accept and work with painful realities, and at the same time work towards creating a healthier world, a healthier future for all of us. And for me, these two themes, despair and hope, they're like two sides of the same coin. And for me, as an activist, as a permaculture teacher, as a community organizer, when I learn about what is happening to the planet, when I learn about the loss of ecosystems, when I learn about the pollution and the warming of the oceans, I feel so much despair. This is where this is where the inner capacities serve us, and that despair is such a natural part of confronting what we're losing in the world, what is being destroyed in the world. And at the same time, I think it's so important for us to be cultivating hope. And for me, hope is what fuels me. Hope is what helps me get up in the morning and keep going with this work. And hope is what motivates me to take action. So the book is in 3 parts. As I mentioned, this piece around inner capacities. The first part of the book starts with these inner capacities, and which includes gratitude and presence and acknowledging our self-defeating thoughts, learning to cultivate qualities that we want to embody, that we want to bring to our lives. So again, we start from this place of building inner tools and resources, because for so many people, confronting death and ecological crisis is really challenging. The middle portion of the book is this crux of the book is this work in facing facing the threats to lives, to life on our planet. And the reason we do this, the reason that I invite us to do this is hard work. It's work that takes courage and strength. And if we can support ourselves again with those inner capacities, take care of ourselves emotionally and mentally as we are facing these challenges, when we know what there is to lose, when we know what's at stake, it leads us into the third portion of this book, which is being more intentional about how we want to live. So it's about being more thoughtful, more mindful, more choiceful in how we spend each day and how we interact with our family members, our neighbors, our communities, what we do for a living, what we choose to do as in our spare time, volunteers. So really being intentional about how we use our life energy as a way of taking better care of everything around us. And in the last portion of the book, there are exercises that mirror those 3 parts. Inner capacities, that deep work of facing death and ecological crisis, and then this last portion of how do we want to live our lives? How do we create more meaning, and how do we live more in alignment with our values while enriching and enhancing everything around us? And so the exercises in the last portion of the book mirror these 3 pieces with the intention of guiding the reader through this process and helping you to bring these concepts, these insights into your life. So right now, I'd like to give a reading from the book. So let's just take a breath. Take a breath from where you are. Notice the breath in your body. Notice yourself alive in this moment. And just breathe. So, Embers of Hope. Embracing life in an age of ecological destruction and climate chaos. I am concerned we are killing the living world that makes our survival possible. I want to imagine a healthy future for the children I know. Right now, I worry about the hardship they will have to bear in their lifetimes. When I chat with people, be they neighbors or strangers, most agree that things are not working in some way. The state of our environment is dire, our economies are unstable, and our political systems do not serve the average citizen. In addition, many of us may be dealing with personal challenges such as serious illness, loss of a loved one, or other trauma. It's not easy to deal with all of this and still keep our hearts open. The future of life on Earth is uncertain and our lifetimes are finite. Considering our own deaths, as well as the possibilities of climate catastrophe and perhaps even our collective extinction shows us what we have to lose. If we are to find happiness in the face of this, I believe it is up to us to create it while making a contribution to the world. Embers of Hope is about doing just that, embracing life in uncertain times. In this book, we explore death in order to reconnect with our vitality, and we confront ecological devastation in an effort to rediscover our oneness with all of life. Although reflecting on these things may feel uncomfortable or scary at first, ultimately they lead to uncovering what is truly important to each of us. Personally, my perspective has been radically transformed by the deaths of a dear friend and close family member. I learned through them to be grateful, to do small, meaningful things each day, to give back to the community, and to let go so that when it's my time to die, hopefully I can be at peace. My loved ones' journeys helped me see our global ecological crisis through new eyes. Previously, I thought there were only two options: be hopeful and do everything in my power to change things, or accept there's nothing I can do and give up. I now try to hold both perspectives. I am doing what I can to foster a healthier world and make peace with the end. I'm nurturing new possibilities and trying to be open to receiving what life brings. When we take the step of acknowledging our own mortality, how does this affect the way we live? When we look at the threats to our planet home, how does this compel us to act? We can nurture ourselves and life around us through our choices. Those choices can be as simple as helping a neighbor, or they can be as significant as protecting a forest or starting a nonprofit to serve food insecure people in our community. If the end is near, then now is the best time to appreciate life, to feel the air on our faces, to sing, to sit under a tree, to hug a friend. I hope this book will help you realize or remember how you want to live. May this nourish the seeds of possibility in the embers of hope that you carry. This is from a chapter called Gratitude. By actively looking for things we appreciate, we develop a habit of seeing. We create fulfillment by acknowledging what we have that nourishes us. As my friend noted, for some people it only takes small things to upset them, but it takes big things to make them happy. However, with a change of attitude, almost anyone can find small things to be grateful for. I found that even in my darkest periods, there was some opportunity to receive kindness or beauty. It might have been a smile from a stranger, a helping hand, a beautiful flower, or an incredible sunset. Gifts can present themselves in simple ways. If we don't pay attention, we can miss a smile, a hand, or a flower. As I think of the challenges we face collectively, I wonder what embers are waiting to be discovered in the ashes. Gratitude is as much about what we have as what we perceive. Being mindful allows us to be grateful. We can easily want what we don't have while not noticing what we do have. Spending time in Haiti was eye-opening and humbling for me. Living conditions, they were more extreme than I'm used to in Canada. In the places I stayed, we had access to clean water, food, electricity, and gas most of the time. In Haiti, it was very common to have power outages for water and gas tanks to run out, or for kitchens to be low on food. I learned to recharge laptops and cell phones when the electricity was on, to bathe with less than a liter of water, to change travel plans, and to savor a healthy meal. When unpleasant things happened, I was ready to adapt. And when pleasant things happened, I was ready. In our everyday lives, do we appreciate things going well or getting what we want? Or do we only know the value of something? This is from a chapter called Global Wake Up Call. In the last couple of years, more places seem to be affected by climate breakdown. Hurricane Harvey in Texas and Hurricane Irma in the Caribbean. Long-term drought and raging wildfires in California and Australia. Wildfires in Greece and hurricanes in the Mediterranean. Severe flooding in eastern Ontario and western Quebec. Tornadoes in Ottawa and Gatineau. And these are only the places where I have friends or family who have shared first-hand accounts. Climate chaos is stripping away the privileged illusion that, as a middle-class person on Turtle Island or in Europe, I live in security or I'm entitled to a safe future. Not long ago, my partner, Bastu, and I were looking forward to a special weekend. Our good friends, Brittany and Alistair, were getting married by a lake, and several of our friends would be there. Despite the fact that there was a tornado in the region, we were getting accustomed to such storm warnings in the weather forecast, so we didn't change our plans. As we drove towards the small town of Calabogie, the rain was falling hard enough that the windshield wipers barely helped. Bastu was driving and I was navigating. I was supposed to be looking for a small side road just after the town, though I was talking and not paying attention. About 6 kilometers later, we knew we had missed our turn. We went back and turned onto the side road, only to be stopped short by several large fallen trees blocking the road. We headed back to Calabogie to take another route. As we drove through the town this time, we saw downed trees, a shed with its roof blown off, and a broken electrical pole lying with its wire across the road. None of that had been there several minutes earlier. What if we hadn't missed that turn? We would have been on that side road with damage. Would we have been stuck there, or even worse yet, crushed under one of those trees? We drove slowly and left heavy weights behind. We called other friends to tell them about the bad road conditions. One of them had already arrived at the wedding venue and reported only blue skies there, so we continued on. Unbeknownst to us, the storm that was moving through the region hit downburst in Calabogie, with winds recorded at 175 kilometers per hour. Shortly thereafter, 2 tornadoes with winds recorded at 265 kilometers per hour touched down in the Ottawa-Gatineau area, from where many of our friends were coming. Some people arrived late, though everyone was safe, and it turned out to be a festive weekend. Brittany and Alistair had a magical ceremony on a beach adorned with cedar boughs. We enjoyed a huge potluck meal, danced late into the night, and ate leftovers for breakfast this morning. It seemed strange to have survived the storm and then to have a lively party outside. On the other hand, it was also the perfect gift, a reminder of our mortality to help us truly appreciate the preciousness of that day. None of us are immune to dying or to natural disasters. Such things can happen without warning, and they give us good reason to celebrate and live fully now. Please don't wait for a close encounter with death to enjoy your life. Appreciate what you have today. Be grateful. Laugh with a friend. Do something kind for a stranger. Make the most of the opportunities you have to share and love. This is from a chapter called Community. In 1998, a severe ice storm hit large parts of Ontario, Quebec, and the northeast of the US, bringing down trees and electrical wires and disabling large portions of the electrical grid. The worst affected places were without power for weeks. I was in Kingston, Ontario at the time. I have fond memories of that short period without power. A friend showed up with hot chocolate one day, and we set out to bring hot food to an elderly friend. Large community shelters opened and free meals were served. Strangers talked on the streets. A few blocks of the downtown area still had power since their electrical cables were underground and safe from the weight of the ice and fallen trees. Away from those busy blocks, the neighborhoods were dark, quiet. In her book, The Paradise Built in Hell, The Extraordinary Communities That Arise in Disaster, writer and activist Rebecca Solnit writes that when disaster hits, it is real people, even strangers, who self-organize to help one another. She asserts, the image of the selfish, panicky, or regressively savage human being in times of disaster has little truth to it. Decades of meticulous sociological research on behavior in disaster, the bombings of World War II to floods, tornadoes, earthquakes, and storms across the continent and around the world have demonstrated this. The immediacy of disaster tends to cast aside the barriers of so-called normal, and many people have a strong need to help and be useful. Solnit highlights how people in New York, in response to the attacks of September 11, 2001, demonstrated an urgent desire to help, because giving to others or doing something gave them purpose. Solnit also emphasizes that the most extreme behavior in disaster situations often come from those who anticipate barbarism and believe they have to defend themselves. We could learn a lot from this. Our dominant culture upholds the idea of competition for survival, whereas cooperation within a species and mutualism between species are widespread in nature. Over 80% of plant species on land have associations with fungi called mycorrhiza. In this symbiotic relationship, the plants provide sugars made through photosynthesis and can even give up to half of this to partners. In return, they receive minerals, are more tolerant to drought and salinity, and experience fewer pests and disease. The mycorrhiza can form a network in the soil that connects plants and may promote diversity in the plant community by improving access to nutrients. It is important to recognize that the biggest help in a disaster can come from those in our immediate vicinity. Instead of feeding our mistrust about how dangerous people can be, we can start to connect with our neighbors now. If we can learn to help one another while conditions are relatively stable, then, when things break down, we'll be more able to work together effectively and be less inclined to give in to fear. Now, when I worry about potential crises, I remind myself to build relationships rather than fences, and to build relationships where there are already fences. I challenge myself to make more of an effort to get to know the people around me. Over the years, giving gifts and receiving help taught me about a culture of mutual support. In the garden, when we feed the diverse life in the soil, we feed ourselves in the long term. Likewise, nurturing the relationships around us prepares the ground for our future well-being. And the last little piece I would like to share with you this evening from the book. Climate breakdown impacts each of us in different ways. You may have lost your crops, your home, or your neighborhood to a flood, fire, or hurricane, or you know someone else who has. Or maybe all of that seems far away to you, so you try not to think about it because it's too frightening. Or perhaps you cannot stop thinking about it because it's too terrible to deny. Whatever the case may be, I imagine that you and I share some things in common. We care about our lives and about life on Earth. We appreciate happiness. We experience meaning when we help others. Throughout my life, I've grappled with big existential questions. Death and crisis have also fueled such reflections. These kinds of questions may be in the back or front of your mind too. How might I create meaning and happiness in my life through helping others or taking care of the earth? How might I apply my passion and purpose to help my community for the greater world? How might I live so that I may be at peace when I die? How might I share love and nourishment today? Our responses to these questions point us to what we can offer the world. We don't have to be superheroes to assist others. In the superhero stories I know, The hero discovers that they have superpowers and are unlikely to die. This compels them to be bold, to work on the side of good, and to save others in the world. In my experience, ordinary, everyday heroes tend to be the opposite. People who recognize that they will die. And this is what compels them to be courageous, to work towards a greater good, and to help others in the world, therein realizing their power. This book is for those ordinary, everyday heroes, which include you and me. When I think of famous leaders like Mother Teresa, Nelson Mandela, the Dalai Lama, and Vandana Shiva, I admire their commitment and their love. Even if you and I are not famous leaders, we are the caring hands that nurture our communities both now and for future generations. To be change makers, healers, kind neighbors, empowered citizens asks us to strive for our highest potential. So, I'm going to invite us to just take a moment just to move your body a little bit, kind of transition from listening mode to tune into yourself. So just wiggle, kind of give some circles to your shoulders and your neck. Give some small movements to your hands, your wrists, maybe your ankles, your torso. So just in this moment, just letting all of those words, letting them go for now. And I'm going to lead us for a few minutes in a guided meditation. So I invite you to get comfortable wherever you are right now. So just closing your eyes, or if you prefer, just have a gentle gaze in front of you. And coming into the breath again right now. So just noticing the breath, in breath, and the out breath. Noticing the sensation of the breath as it fills the nostrils, the chest, and the belly. And noticing the sensation of the breath as it leaves and empties the belly and the chest. And imagining with the out breath, just letting go of the day. With each out breath, letting go, inviting our bodies and minds to let go of tension. With the out breath, inviting ourselves to let go of our worries, our concerns, be they for ourselves or our loved ones or the world, and just letting this go momentarily, temporarily for now. And with the in-breath, breathing in relaxation. With the in-breath, breathing in, inviting a sense of well-being. And with the in-breath, inviting in vitality. And so now I invite us to imagine a special place in nature. It could be a place that you've visited before, could be a place that you visit often, or it could be a place that exists in your imagination. So continuing to let the breath be soft and imagining this place in nature, taking a moment to just tune in to that place, imagining or remembering the colors, the sounds, the smell. Maybe there were tastes associated with this place. And noticing how your body is feeling as you imagine yourself or remember yourself in this place. As you breathe in this place, still imagining, inviting that the out breath, that we let go of tension, and that the in breath brings into our bodies, our minds, our hearts, a sense of well-being and connection. And just breathing softly in this place for a moment, taking in the beauty of this place, breathing in the nourishment and the vitality of this place. Allowing yourself to take in, to drink in the well-being of this place. And also just taking a moment to offer in your mind any good wishes you have for this place, your gratitude, your care. So just in these final moments in this place, taking a look around, noticing what is beautiful here, noticing what is enriching and what is nourishing. and just giving thanks inwardly, giving thanks for that places like this still exist in the world. And slowly just bringing your attention back to your breath. To the chair that you're sitting in. Noticing any sounds around you. And just opening your eyes halfway, letting light into your eyes, noticing the quality of that light. And then slowly opening your eyes fully. And again, just giving some movement to the body. Just wiggling your shoulders, circling your shoulders and your neck. Just any small movements that feel comfortable that you can do. Movements to the hands, the torso. And then your attention back to our group, back to the computer, back to being here in this webinar together. So in the last portion of our evening, I would like to invite us to move into the Q&A portion. And I also have to let our tech person, Sylvia, know that I am having an echo, so I can't actually listen and speak because I'm getting an echo of myself right now. So I don't know if there's a different way to facilitate the Q&A right now.
Do you hear an echo when I speak, Bonita?
I do not hear an echo when you speak, but I am still hearing my voice from maybe 30 seconds ago or 15 seconds ago.
Okay, so in terms of the Q&A, I will be reading the questions out to you as they come in. So hopefully the echo situation won't be too bad.
Oh, wow. And I actually am getting an echo, Anissa, from you about 15 seconds ago. So
Bonita, do you have an external mic connected to your computer?
Sylvia, I do have an external mic connected and I'm wearing a headset as well.
So are you able to unplug one of them?
Yes, I can unplug the headset.
And, oh, but then you won't be able to hear us, would you?
Sylvia, can you still speak?
Yes, I could hear you.
Let's see. And I'm getting no sound at the moment. I'm so sorry, friends, for these tech issues.
You might have to change the your settings on your.
One more thing here. Like we said earlier in the day, tech is wonderful when it works. I'm just going to plug into the bottom of my mic and see if that makes it any better because I'm getting zero sound right now. Okay, I am back.
Bonita, can you hear us?
I'm still getting that echo. So is there a way that, Anissa, can I just look at any questions in the Q&A and just speak to them without having audio?
Absolutely. Yep, you're able to do that.
Do we have any questions coming in right now?
As long as you can see the questions. We don't have any that have come in yet. I would encourage folks, so
we can give you a couple minutes to submit your questions in the live Q&A chat. Again, that's the little speech bubbles with the question mark in them. If you do have anything you'd like to ask, we have some time here. While we're waiting on that, Bonita, I think my question is, well, first of all, this is a fantastic read. I think my biggest question is, what was your biggest inspiration for writing the book?
Mm. Thanks for that question, Anissa. So it's interesting. Excuse me. I think about, let's say, a decade ago, when I was starting to teach permaculture and starting to do more projects in the community, I felt really inspired to write a book. I've always enjoyed writing. And so at the time, I thought that I was going to be writing a book on social permaculture and on how to bring permaculture together with nonviolent communication, which are both tools that are a part of my professional work. And as I started writing, it was really interesting that I kind of kept hitting these walls I kept writing the introduction. I wrote it several times and it wasn't going anywhere. And then as I was just living my life, I kind of put the book project down for a little while. And a very dear friend of mine was, my dear friend Catherine was diagnosed with a terminal illness, and I write about her in the book as well. And in that process of her learning about the illness and how she chose to live with that. So she basically, when she got that diagnosis, she, after taking some personal time to process that and to get second opinions from other doctors and other health practitioners, she decided for herself that she was going to heal and to recover her health entirely. And so this intention to heal, this intention to live well, it, over time, it became such a powerful metaphor for me about how we can live in the face of what we're living with collectively right now. Because with her health, she really didn't know if she would have a year or 10 years, or if she would live out the rest of her life naturally and no longer be affected by this illness. And just her choice to live each day with presence, with gratitude, and focus on the things that she could do, focus on the ways that she could improve her own life, contribute to the lives of the people around her. All of these pieces became like stepping stones for me as I looked at and grappled with how do I, as a teacher, how do I, as a culture teacher, how do I, as a life coach or a business coach, as a facilitator, as a community organizer, how do I keep doing my work in the world while still grappling with this unknown, while still grappling with this fear of what the future might bring? And so this friend's journey through this diagnosis and leading to her death, eventually, it became such a powerful story for me about how I can live and how I want to live now, with presence, with integrity and doing as much as I possibly can with my life every day, with the days, the months, maybe years that I have in contributing to the people, the human lives and the non-human lives around me. So I'm seeing just a couple of, I'm seeing a message from Heath here in the Q&A box. So I see the main challenge facing us and one of politicization, division regarding the problems we face in the future. Yeah, I agree. Our biggest challenge will be how to reach the people who believe it is not real or happening. What are your thoughts on how we can break down these walls and reach these people who believe climate change is a scam used to sell useless green technology to the masses? Yeah, that's a really challenging question. You know, it's interesting that in my work in over a decade, in the beginning, I really tried to engage disbelievers, and the more I did work in the community, the more I discovered that I found for myself anyways, that wasn't the best use of my own energy. I think the people that I feel most drawn to connect are those who know that this is a crisis and a challenge and it's something that we need to address, and those people who are open to the possibility, the people who are seeking information, people who are questioning. So people who outright believe it's a scam, that's hard. I find that really, really challenging. I think, you know, when I'm in conversations with people that have such different beliefs, I guess ultimately, and maybe this comes from my background in nonviolent communication, I try to connect with people from where they're at. And so just connecting with people, like looking for common ground, looking for common values, whether that is people just being concerned about the well-being of their families, people just being concerned about making ends meet, the next paycheck, or some people are just really focused on their toys and their comforts and their luxuries. And in those cases, I don't try to actively convince them otherwise. There's like a handful of people in my life that I really care about who have very different lifestyles from mine, who really you know, maybe would fall into this category, as you say, Keith, of you know, thinking that climate change is just used to kind of sell useless green technologies. And with those people, I don't try and argue with them. I just try to continue to be an open-minded, thoughtful, caring person, and I try to listen. I mean, that's ultimately that I think that comes from the communication practice, is trying to listen to people, trying to listen to what their needs are, where are they coming from, what are their motivations? Is it a need for security? Is it a need for safety? Is it a need for comfort? Is it a need for well-being? Is it a play? And just at that level, I can relate to them. I might not be able to relate at the level or celebrate with them, you know, maybe they're buying their newest SUV or pickup truck when they just bought one a couple of years ago. Or they're just buying their latest toys. Maybe at that level, I can't relate. But at the level of play, at the level of connection, level of celebrating community, if I can get past our differences of opinion in our different ways, and I'm sorry, this is like kind of a very roundabout way of answering your question. It's a really difficult question. I think so. I guess what I'm trying to say is that to me, ultimately, it's about listening. I mean, so maybe just to kind of bring this to one point, when I in the story that I was reading about from the book about the ice storm. And even what I saw here in my community in Perth last year, first COVID lockdowns happened, it didn't matter anymore. It didn't matter if the people around me were kind of green environmental permaculture people, or whether we voted left or right, or whether we drove fancy cars or not. What really mattered ultimately, or where I saw what was starting to bear fruit, were the places where I have been actively trying to cultivate relationships with people, with neighbors, and I try to actively cultivate relationships with people regardless of whether they have a garden that looks like mine. And our garden looks pretty different compared to most people's gardens. Looking at some idea right now, it's a big pile of chips, and I imagine that some of our neighbors with pristine lawns that are like hand picking out their dandelions instead of eating them. I think they probably think this is pretty weird, but being kind, thoughtful, caring people, and me bringing them some garlic at the end of the season or a bunch of oregano, nobody's ever said to me, like, take your hippie garlic and tomatoes and oregano, like, go stuff it. Like, no one's ever said no to those gifts. And over time, those gifts become a that's how we build relationships where we didn't necessarily see eye to eye. So we might not vote the same way. We might have totally different lifestyles or beliefs around climate, about the climate crisis or about the environmental crisis. But at the level of being human beings, when crisis hits this community, if we've cultivated those relationships, then those relationships are part of that safety net that we're that we can be leaving. So I'm noticing our time. I'm noticing that there are no other questions in the box right now. I'm wondering if Anissa would like to share anything else at the moment.
I'd like to say thank you to you, Bonita, for a fantastic presentation and a very, very thoughtful session on just, I love the meditating piece, I have to say. So thank you again for taking the time to present to us, especially on behalf of DIAC. This again was the last of a series of 5 webinars, and what a fantastic way to end. So thank you again. Thank you so much. Thank you to Sylvia from our IT department, and Roger, who couldn't be here with us today, but also helped produce our webinar events so far. So thank you to everyone, and have a wonderful evening.
Thank you so much, Anissa. Thank you, everyone, for being here. And I'm sorry for the tech challenges. And I wish you well. I wish you a bountiful and relaxing and nourishing springtime. So thank you for being here.
Thank you.